Hello everyone, I am back once again. Sorry for the long delay, but this time here's my review on McFarlane Toys Movie Maniacs Jason Goes to Hell figure from, I guess, McFarlane Toys. Excuse me. So here he is. Now I don't have the box. I used to know where the box is. Now I don't know where it is. So hopefully I can get a promo shot of it. But if you want to see it, go check my unboxing. I'll link it in the description below. So let's go ahead. Start with the figure right now. The painting, the sculpting on this figure is, for a lot of Friday the 13th fans, for this figure and collectors, a bit questionable. Start off with his mask. Now, I really don't like Jason Goes to Hell. I just don't like his mask. It looks terrible. He looks like his mask's been shoved into his face. He looks like a marshmallow. But here you can kind of see, yes, he is a marshmallow. You can see that sort of marshmallow texture. However, that mask is very different. It has a lot more damage to it, and it has a lot more damage than it already has. Like, besides this little small crack, as you could see up there, there's even a slight bits of blood. You know, it just doesn't look much. There's even bits of cracks on his eyes, but, you know, it just doesn't look that much. It looks kind of plain in comparison. Moving down to his arms, to his torso, you can see a bit of tearing on his jacket. And it does not look like much either. It's still pretty gruesome, though, considering he's burnt. You can even see the blue colors into it. But he also has a bit of a sort of Part 7 thing going on here, where his spinal cord, you can kind of see his back. But instead of seeing his spinal cord, you only can see his very screwed up back. Sorry, trypophobia users. Moving down to his arms, which are disgusting and bloody. Now looking at it on camera, you also can see a little bit on his hands, a thumb as well. And you can even see a bit of his finger right there. And you can see more detail and sort of a Freddy vs. Jason detail where his other arm is just draping. But here's where the criticism goes in. But before we go into that, here's the legs. Very nicely detailed, nicely painted, sculpted. You can see a bit of back pockets, and it looks very nicely bloody, although a bit out of contrast with his crotch, where it's bloody, but in reality, his legs aren't, which is a bit weird, except his knees and his feet, which are nicely detailed, especially this side. They just look very nice. Let's go into the inconsistencies. So, Part 9 Jason has a bubbly. Also, I forgot to mention, you can remove his mask. However, I am not risking it. This figure was so much money. I paid so much. I am not going to remove his mask because it could break. But hopefully, I can put up a picture on Google. Or maybe not. But I'll show it in the photo gallery. Here is the inconsistencies. Part 9 Jason not only had a bubbly head, his mask was a little bit more burnt, and later on the film, he had a crack on this side, and his straps were there. So it's a bit awkward that, you know, his mask is a bit normal, a bit not as damaged. His head, even more his skin tone is a bit different. His sleeves are up, which is never accurate. His sleeves are up, or he doesn't even have sleeves, which is unlike one promotional shot in the movie where he has sleeves, and I don't even recall him having this sort of Part 7 vibe. I don't recall him having that. But otherwise, it's a fairly decent very decent, like, figure in terms of how it's painted and sculpted, and looks very nice. Now, let's move on to our accessories. One quick note, I was trying to look for the axe. I don't know where it is. I really don't. I don't know where it went, but it went somewhere, but I don't know where it is. It's just like the time issues where I lost Chucky's voodoo knife and Bride of Chucky's hands. So, call me an idiot if you want. But here is what's it called? The base. This I actually like. You can see the nice details going on to this, and the normal Jason Goes to Hell posters. Since this figure was made in 1998, I don't know how in the hell is the glue still standing. That is insane. Well, most of my hot glue just wants to just quickly die out, but it looks very nicely painted and sculpted too, with a nice movie Maniac symbol. Moving on to his accessories, he has an axe, although again I don't know where it is. So let's move on to his spear or his harpoon, nicely bloodied and painted and even more sculpted, with a nice rope hanging, nice string hanging onto it, and it looks like he could probably throw it. In the movie, he did kind of use one, but this was when he was in, like, possessed with some sort of... He was possessed into one of the guys, one of the corners. Excuse me. He even got his machete, which is also inaccurate, but very nicely detailed. Surprisingly, it's very bright, too. It's not as, like, the other Jason machetes, where they're kind of dull, but they're also very nicely painted. I don't recall this machete having a brown handle. I know part 4 had a brown handle, but this one, I don't know. And that blood is a bit out of place. It almost looks, and even more feeling it, it looks like this thing is legitimately, like, painted with, like, acrylic paint, similar to, like, my paintbrushes. Moving down to articulation, now this figure was made in 1998, so you want to get something as what we got with Ultimate Jason figures, so he's kind of limited. Head is on a swivel, he cannot look up and down. Arms are on a 360 rotation. Now, it depends on which arm. This arm can do something like this, however, it can't really pose well. And he also has a wrist swivel along with it. Same with this arm. However, it has to do something like this. That means you could swivel it. And it also has a swivel, which also worries me. Most of these hands worry me. Waist swivel that is really loose. And legs that are strangely working if you want to get this guy walking, but he looks a bit awkward. So, if you want him... So in terms of posability, he's alright to pose, I guess. He's not that good to pose. In some poses, he can be really good. Others, he's kind of bland. And remember, this is an old figure from 1998. Let's move on to the size comparison. All in Toys Movie Maniacs Jason stands at a rough 6 to 7 inches, depending on his pose. So let's do a little comparison here of every NECA Jason I have besides NES, because I am not getting NES. Here he is with the Part 2 Jason from NECA. Oh my lord. Here he is with Part 2 Jason, a bit smaller, to say the least. Here he is with the Part 3 Jason, which, let's get over Part 3 real quick. As you can tell, this Jason is really small because of the sculpt and how he's a pre-post figure with a little bit of articulation to him. Part 4, the reissue version, which is by far one of the best Jason figures I've ever gotten in a lifetime. Like, it's very well to pose, it's very well to just have a lot of fun with. Here he is with the NECA Roy Burns with a mask that does not want to stay on. A.k.a. as of now, the second best Jason figure. Which, this Jason figure is really good. I will probably do, as soon as I get Part 7, I'll try to do a ranking of every Jason. For the fun of it, Dream Sequence. So if you want to get like a standard Jason, I'd rather suggest you get Part 3, Part 4, or Part 5 Dream Sequence. Or maybe even Versus as well, if you want a more classic Jason. Part 6, Jason Lives. I like this Jason. I know this figure has a lot of problems, like his mask, the loose legs, the lack of accessories, and whatnot, but I think this figure is underrated in my opinion. I don't know what makes me like it. I don't know what makes me like that figure so much. They have clicky legs, aka the Versus Jason, aka the tallest Jason. And here he is with the remake, and I also just realized when I did before I did remake and then when I did Versus, I forgot to compare him with Uber Jason. So here he is with Movie Maniacs Uber Jason, which he's roughly the same size, as you can see. Roughly the same size. So yeah, there we go. His machete's in the accessory bin. So buy now, skip, or just skip. I'm gonna get this reel out of the way. This figure is pretty alright. Like, if you want to give it out of 10, it's like a 7 or a 6. It's very nicely detailed and sculpted. However, of course, being a pre-post figure, it kind of lacks into articulation. However, it kind of benefits from Uber Jason. The problem with this one is, I don't know, this isn't as accurate as what Jason was supposed to be in Friday the 13th, or I don't know, more on Friday the 13th. Jason Goes to Hell. He was not like this. Whatever from Baldy Jack, he is more like a version of like Part 8 and Part 7, and I could see that. He has some elements of Part 8 with his jacket. Like, he has some elements of Part 8 with his a bit of his jacket, and not only his jacket, his gloves. Like, Part 8 was wearing gloves, and not only that, he also has a bit of Part 7 because of his skin, his back, and whatnot. So I'd suggest, if NECA's still gonna do a lot of Jason figures, I suggest skipping this one. It's not like something like Uber Jason, which even though it has its articulation is very limited with very limited head articulation, arm articulation, wrist articulation, and waist articulation. Voice crack. At least with him, it benefits and kind of works with your ultimate Jason shelf or even more newer Jason figures because of its sculpt. Whereas this one, it has a nice articulation and nicely painted and sculpted. However, the problem is it's very inaccurate to what Jason is in the movie. So, I suggest skipping this one out. So, until then, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. Photo gallery coming soon. Hopefully, I can find a picture of the box and the accessories it comes with. So, pain, but yeah, hopefully I can do that, and I'll see you guys next time on the next review, which hopefully will be coming soon. I'll try to upload, and as of recording, I'll try to upload my other reviews maybe on my first channel, because you know how many lack of reviews that one gets. So until then, I'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Now it's time to play.